In this video, I'm going to walk you through the prep for Lesson 9 of Unit 8.1 from OpenSciEd. Okay, so this is a station investigation lesson. So there's going to be some prep around setting up the stations. You can see here we've got the 4 stations that are described below. In Station 1, you're going to use the track cart system again. This time it's going to have an index card on the front of the cart to measure the effects of air resistance on that card. So students should be familiar with how to pull back the plunger and let go so the cart moves down the track. It's going to be pretty similar to Lesson 8, but now we're measuring air resistance. The materials for Station 2, they're going to be looking at some data. They're going to look at some graphs and some data around air resistance and other types of forces on our cart system. And so here are the data cards that they're going to need to look at. Now, if you have a large class, you're going to need 8 groups. And so you'll need to set up 2 tracks for Station 1, and you'll need 2 sets of data cards for 2 different stations for Station 2. For Station 3, they're going to be looking at friction. And so you'll need a large rubber eraser, something that they're going to rub that eraser on like styrofoam from a takeout container, and an infrared thermometer. So they're going to measure the amount of heat that is created when the eraser is rubbed on that surface. And so you'll need that infrared thermometer. They're going to point that onto the material that they're rubbing the eraser on to determine that there's an increase in temperature, which is an energy transfer. And then materials for Station 4, they're going to be looking at some microscope images, card set. These should be printed out in color. I would say probably I would provide these digitally. They're also going to need to access a simulation for Station 4. So I would have this be a digital station. I would provide the image cards digitally and the simulation digitally so that they can look at both with high quality images and then use the simulation together. There are a few handouts that you'll need. The lab station instruction cards. These will need to be printed out. There's 4 stations on one handout. So print out 2 copies, cut them up, put the instructions for each station at the respective station. You will also, this is what was listed above, the data cards for Station 2 and the microscope image cards for Station 3. So 2 copies of each for 2 stations. Okay, so that is the basic instructions for the stations investigation prep. Here's a few other things you need to know. Of course, we're going to go through handouts here in a moment, but you're going to modify slide F. We're going to talk a little bit about classroom norms before they do a jigsaw activity. And so if you have developed your own classroom norms, make sure you replace that norms that is on the slide with your norms for that class. Or you can point to it if it's on the wall, if that's easier. And then also be prepared to distribute completed copies of, this is probably something you collected. One, they're going to use the energy transfer model. They're going to revise that where it's the cart system at those different time points. And then also they're going to revise after their jigsaw discussion, the free body diagram handout. So you're going to need to get those back to students or make sure they know where they are in their notebook. Now, I will say there are a few handouts. The main one here, this is for students to write down how they would revise their model as they're sharing their constructed explanations about how they think energy transferred at each station. They're only going to construct an explanation for one of the stations, and then they're going to share out. And so as they're sharing out, they're taking notes of how they're going to revise their handouts that we did in Lesson 8. This is, of course, the handouts that students will complete as they go through the station. And the only thing I'm going to add here that I don't have is just the procedures that you need printed out. So that's going to be the lab station instructions. So I'll add a link to that, but you have it in your Google Drive. All right, so good luck with this station investigation. Kids should have a lot of fun.